Hello and welcome to my stupid little life. Today we are doing a Texas breakfast tour. I am on a road trip with my wonderful dog Coconut. There she is. Isn't she wonderful? And me, she hasn't been allowed in the restaurants, decided to do a little Texas breakfast tour because I am a breakfast fanatic. If there's one meal I'm gonna eat out every single day, it's breakfast. I know, I'm basic. So without further ado, here is my little Texas breakfast tour on my drive from Amarillo to the DFW and down to El Paso. Stopped at the Sisters Cafe in what I believe is pronounced Quanah, Texas. Quanah? Sorry if I'm butchering that. That was amazing. It was amazing. I got the migas and it was my first time ever trying migas, so I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that too. It was really good, but it took a very long time to come out. Almost a solid 30 minutes for a breakfast dish. Worth it. Worth the wait. Really worth the wait. It is funny when you pull up to this cafe, you kind of go like, are you sure there's a restaurant here? It's a very grungy looking old building. I'm parked on the wrong side so I couldn't see the entrance, but trust me, it's worth stopping. If you're ever on the long drive from Amarillo to Dallas, it's not quite halfway to Dallas, but it would be a great spot to stop for lunch or breakfast because I'll be stopping here again next time, for sure. And the staff is super friendly. Just finished eating brunch at Pete's Diner in Addison, which is in the greater Dallas area. I'm really surprised. I've never heard of it. I've never been there before because I always stay in Addison when I come to Dallas and usually right in this neighborhood. And it seems like a staple. It seems like people know about it. It was busy and I didn't arrive at lunch. It was still busy, but it was fantastic. Awesome little old-fashioned style diner. One of the things I'm most impressed by is that it didn't have Texas portions. It had everywhere else portions of food. Because, yeah, when you come to Texas, it is hard not to overeat. The portions here are out of control. They're so big. So it was really refreshing to order a breakfast and get the same portion I would have in Canada. So I ate the whole thing and I don't feel gross. It's fantastic. The grits were awesome. Grits are always awesome. Grits are a food that I really wish was a breakfast staple everywhere else, but for some reason you can only get it in the South. Or if you're at a southern style diner somewhere, and then they won't be as good. So every time I come to Texas, I have to make sure I'm ordering grits everywhere because grits are great. Cool little old diner, weird decor. Insert the Hooters application here, but awesome food, definitely worth checking out. Great prices. All the food in Texas is always really well priced. Our food in Canada is so expensive, so when I come here, I'm always like, damn, everything's so cheap. So take that with a grain of salt, but fantastic little spot in Addison. So, just finished at Jay's Breakfast and Burgers, which is a 24-hour breakfast and burger joint right near my hotel in Addison. And I gotta say, it's the one that surprised me the most. I was really not expecting much, even though it's quite highly rated, just because it's a 24-hour breakfast place, you know? It just didn't seem like it would have the highest quality food. And one of the big drawbacks about it is that it is smoking inside. I do often forget that a lot of places in Texas still do allow smoking inside. I don't know what the licensing is for that, if it's pubs specifically. Generally, this was not a pub, but they had a smoking section and a non-smoking section. And even in the non-smoking, you're gonna smell it. Like, it irritates my eyes quite a bit, so I was concerned about that. But luckily no one was currently smoking inside while I was eating, so it wasn't too bad. And I gotta say, the food was phenomenal. I got this meat lover's breakfast dish, which was scrambled eggs, 2 pork chops. I got it with home fries and biscuits. Hold the gravy. I know that's sacrilege, but I'm just not a biscuits and gravy fan. Sorry to the south. And the pork chops were phenomenal. I love a good pork chop, but I'm kind of weird. I don't like any sauce on them. I don't like the applesauce they usually come with. So I prefer just a plain pork chop so I can really taste the flavor of the meat. I prefer a leaner, less fatty pork chop. And these were exactly that. Also, they were heavily salted, and I am a salt fiend, so really enjoyed the pork chops. The scrambled eggs were perfectly cooked. They were still really light and fluffy. They weren't overly dry or rubbery at all. And they had a bunch of the juice from the pork chops in them, so they're actually really doubly phenomenal. Also, anyone who knows me knows I don't like potato. Not a potato eater, really just not my thing, but these home fries were good enough that I ate most of them, which is a lot for me, because potato doesn't sit well with my stomach usually. But they were, again, salty and delicious. I ended up even ordering a second plate of just pork chops, because it's hard to find a good plain pork chop. So definitely up my alley, better than I expected. Smoking inside, big drawback, and the coffee was real shit. Coffee was weak and just not good. So definitely not the place to go for a coffee, or if you're allergic to smoke. But other than that, phenomenal. I'll probably be back when I'm in the Addison area. So after I return to my room, I realize I have to rescind my statement about being a repeat customer to Jay's Breakfast and Burgers, because unfortunately my clothes also smelled so bad like smoke that I felt the need to wash them. Alright, I just finished eating at Mamacitas. Got my latte to go because I actually do lattes. Yeah, it's about a block and a half away from my hotel, not even. You'll notice it's definitely a little bit fancier than everything else on the list today. I did kind of want to do like this grungy truck stop diner vibe to the videos, but also I have eaten here before. I know it's phenomenal, and I only had time for one breakfast in El Paso, so I really wanted to make it this one. And now I'm having dessert of my own hair. Delicious. Apparently downtown El Paso is empty on a Sunday morning. It looks like a mess. The huevos. It looks like a giant disaster of a breakfast. I know. You kind of look at it and you're like, I'm sorry, is my breakfast under this soup somewhere? But trust me, it does not taste like a mess. It is phenomenal. Huevos is one of those things that's different everywhere you have it. It'll be made differently everywhere you order it. It's got its own flair on it, which is phenomenal. I like that. I like being able to taste a different chef's perspective on something. So, yeah. All right, well, that concludes my little Texas breakfast adventure this trip. I might not be back in Texas for quite some time, so this might be the final Texas breakfast adventure. And I would like to just kind of rate these places on a general 1 to 5. I'm not specific enough to go 1 through 10, so you'll have to bear with me on my 1 through 5 scale. So we're going to be rating them on 5 things. I'm doing ambiance, taste, service, speed, and price, and then an overall rating. Let's start with the Sisters Cafe in Quanah. Sorry, I never learned how to pronounce it. So for ambiance, I give the Sisters Cafe a 2 out of 5. It's a kind of strange look from the outside. It looks like you're walking into a really closed, dingy place that hasn't been open for
20 years, but once you get inside you realize it is open, and they have a very strange layout with some seating in the front that's very dark and then more seating in the back that's quite light and open. It feels like a very old truck stop roadside diner, which is fine, no issues with that. It's just definitely, if you're not used to that, it would be a little uncomfortable. As far as taste goes, we give them a 5 out of 5. That was my first time ever having migas, and it will not be the last time. That was phenomenal. It was delicious. I can't handle spice at all. I had to pick out all the jalapenos that I didn't know came in it. Unfortunately, it didn't say that on the menu, and I still ate the whole thing, even though I can't handle spice, because it tasted so good that I just had to. For service, we're gonna go 2 out of 5. It was very poor service, but I don't want to rate them too much lower than that because the lady who was my server said she normally works the kitchen. She's not used to being a server at all. You could tell she was overwhelmed and wasn't sure what to do. So I don't really want to put too much blame on her. I imagine if they had the regular serving staff, the service would have been a lot better. As far as speed goes, we're gonna rate that a 0 out of 5. Migas is an egg dish. It is not complicated. It took over 30 minutes for it to arrive at my table. They did tell me that apparently breakfast takes a lot longer than normal food there, but I don't understand why that would be, because breakfast is usually a simpler, quicker thing to make, and I was there at around brunch time. For price, give it a 3 out of 5. For my Canadian mind, it was very cheap. It was $11.99 for the migas, but in Texas, that's very expensive. This is the second highest priced of any of the places I went to, and one of those places is a much higher end, trendy location. So for just a simple Texas breakfast, $11.99 is a large amount of money. So overall, that ends it with a rating of around 2.5 out of 5, which is disappointing because it's only brought down by the service, the speed, the ambiance. The food itself is phenomenal. The food is a 5 out of 5. So if you have extra time, you don't mind slow service, you're not going to want a lot of refills on your beverages, and you're driving between Amarillo and Dallas, it is definitely worth a stop. Add it into your itinerary, check it out, get the migas. It's phenomenal. So next up, we have Pete's Cafe in Addison, Texas on Beltline Road, which is usually right where I stay in the DFW. So that is in the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area. Pete's Cafe, I hadn't heard of before, which is surprising because it is so my kind of place. It's a very old-fashioned Americana diner and very worth going to. So let's start with the ambiance. For the ambiance, I only gave Pete's a 3 out of 5 because of the weird signage. Insert the Hooters sign here. I understand it's from a different era, but for me, it's not the kind of thing I really like to see in a diner. When I'm going for eggs, I don't want to see a female breast comparison. I know, that makes me a hippie liberal. I know, it's just not my style, so I did dock it for that. The decor is very old-fashioned, West Americana. It's really cute, save for the strange touches. For taste, I give it a 4.5 out of 5. It was very, very good. The only reason I'm docking it the 0.5 is because my eggs were slightly overcooked, kind of a non-issue. For service, I give it a 4 out of 5. Standard service, pretty good, nothing to complain about, not over the top great, but not bad whatsoever. Fairly on it, a little bit brusque, but I do kind of expect that in America. The servers tend to be more brusque than ours in Canada, depending on where you are. The speed, I give it a 4 out of 5. Again, came out fast, not crazy fast where you're like, oh my god, should I even be able to eat this? This is too fast, but pretty fast. The price, I give it a 5 out of 5. It was $11.25 for a big special plate, so for about 74 cents less than the migas, I got an entire special that came with many different things. It wasn't a huge amount of food. The migas was quite big at the Sisters, but this is still, it's just in my mind, this is still a little bit of a better deal. So overall, we're looking at a 4 out of 5 for Pete's Diner. Definitely worth checking out. Awesome little diner. Go there if you're in the area. Now let's move on to Jay's Breakfast and Burgers, the 24-hour breakfast and burger joint that I did not realize would have smoking inside the establishment, because I'm very not used to the fact that a lot of places in Texas still do that. They certainly did not have enough ventilation for that, so unfortunately I do give them a 0 out of 5 for ambiance, because as a non-smoker, you don't want to sit in that. Even in the non-smoking side, your hair will smell like cigarettes. My clothes I did have to wash in the bathtub after. For taste, I give them a 4.5 out of 5. I really wanted to give a full 5, but I can't quite do it. The eggs were perfect. They were still fluffy and light. They weren't overcooked at all. The pork chops were so good, I actually ordered a second side of pork chops just by themselves after. However, the biscuits were way too salty. I didn't really like them. I only ate one of them. And I can see other people having that same complaint about the pork chops. I'm actually a salt fiend. I like a really heavily salted meat a lot. So for me, it was perfect, but I can see that being a detriment to other people. So I did drop the half point for that. For service, I give them a 3 out of 5. They were a little inattentive, especially considering the fact there were only 3 tables of people in there. I didn't really get any attention. I was kind of shoved in the back corner. I got 1 refill on my coffee at some point, but it had already gone long cold before then. It seems like the kind of place where they expect you to flag them down or wave or make some noise or go ask if you really need service. And I'm not generally that kind of person. I don't know if it's going to be considered rude somewhere, so dock them a few points on the service. Friendly enough, but certainly not attentive. Speed, 5 out of 5. That food came out so fast. That food came out remarkably fast, and it was good. 5 out of 5 on the speed. Price, 5 out of 5. $10.75 for a meat lovers special with the 2 pork chops and the eggs and the biscuits. Great price. For just 2 pork chops alone is going to be that much in Canada. I'm not quite sure what that goes for in Texas generally, but in my mind, seeing what I got at other places compared to this price was unbeatable. So overall, they're still only at a 3 out of 5, primarily because of the 0 for ambiance. I just can't handle that smoking inside of a restaurant. Now, the final stop on my little 4-day Texas breakfast adventure is Mamacitas in downtown El Paso. Obviously, this is a higher end place. It's a little unfair to be comparing some of the same metrics, but I'm trying to do my best to be generous with how I look at these. I'm not looking at it as high end versus low end, I'm just looking at it as quality of food, quality of service. What do I think I'm getting as a value for my money? And Mamacitas is fantastic. The ambiance is 5 out of 5. It's super cute. It's an eclectic, kitschy, adorable internal space. Super fun to sit at, very comfortable, but it can get very busy, it can get very loud. It's a very popular brunch spot, especially because they only do brunch on weekends. However, they are open early, so you get there at 7 a.m. There'll only be a couple tables. Taste, 5 out of 5. Best huevos I've ever had in my life, even though it looks like soup, phenomenal. Service, 3 out of 5. They're not extremely attentive at Mamacitas, and they do seem a little bit like they don't want to be. They're not really interested in being servers. They seem like they're more of a coffee shop worker, like a barista vibe, where you're expected to just order and that's that. They don't really seem too interested in how you're doing and what's going on. Speed, 4 out of 5. The food comes out very fast for how good it is. You are not going to be waiting long for your breakfast. Price is a 3 out of 5. It was $15 for huevos, which is pretty expensive even at a bougie breakfast place, and this place isn't overly bougie, so $15 is quite a bit. So overall, Mamacitas has a 4 out of 5. Now, we have the honorable mention, the Mesquite Diner in Mesquite, Texas, which is in the Dallas-Fort Worth DFW area. I wanted to go to this place so badly, but I just didn't have time because it's quite a ways away from Addison where I was staying, which is why I ended up going to Jay's instead. The Mesquite Diner is my favorite place to eat in all of Texas. I try to make it out there every time I'm in the DFW, and I just couldn't this time, unfortunately. The ambiance, I give them 2 out of 5. It's a weird little old diner. It's got some stuff on the wall that, you know, Marilyn Monroe and Elvis and those sort of old-fashioned things, cute little pink walls. It's kind of charming, but it is very uncomfortable seats, very harsh lighting, very straight to the point vibe. Taste is 5 out of 5. These are the best breakfast tacos I've ever had in my life. Love a good breakfast taco, but I don't like potato, and most breakfast tacos put potato inside. I don't want that. This place doesn't. They will just give you the eggs and your meat of choice mixed up into the scrambled eggs, which I always choose bacon, and some cheese, and then it comes with a side of refried beans or potatoes or something, but I always go with the refried beans. Fucking phenomenal. Service, 4 out of 5. It's good. It's decent. Sometimes you have to wave them down for coffee if you're chit-chatting with your friend for quite a while and you need more refills. Small coffee cups. Speed, 4 out of 5. You know, nothing crazy fast, but very fast. That food's gonna come out pretty quick. And price, 5 out of 5. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a photo of the breakfast menu, but trust me, it is remarkably well priced. I believe the last few times I've been to have the breakfast tacos, they've been well under $10 for that plate, so it is by far the best deal. So overall, my little honorable mention gets a 4 out of 5, but it's my personal favorite on this list by far. All right, well, there you have it. Thank you so much for joining me. So stay safe, have fun, and go on a fucking adventure. Bye.